Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Welcome to Rune Storytime. This is my first episode of Rune Storytime, which means I really don't know what I'm doing. And I'm totally flying by the seat of my pants, but we'll figure it out, right? So, today's rune, as you will have seen from the thumbnail and the title of the video, is going to be LAGUZ. So this is indeed the LAGUZ rune. It can be reversed. I find I'm not interested in reading reversed, or I've actually seen it flipped, where it's like this, except I can't show it to you because you can't actually flip it. But you know what I mean? Where this is going the other way. Anyway, yeah. So LAGUZ rune. Ta-da! And this is the telluric rune. I'm going to offer some photos of seeing this rune everywhere, and then we'll come back after the montage and the storytelling part, and I will tell you my personal experience with it. So according to our very own Nina Reel from Shuffle Tarot, LAGUZ is a rune associated with the element of water, which also associates it with emotion, feeling, intuition, empathy, the unconscious, journeys by water, journeys into the depths of the self, life energy, fluidity, healing, the waters of life, renewal, emotions, psychic powers, and even love. LAGUZ is water, it's the source of life, and it's about fluidity. It's a predominantly feminine rune, and this rune talks a lot about the flow of energy in life. So like it's the ebb and the flow of, say, an ocean tide. It's also about renewal. So it can often be tied to the sacred waters of life, because all life is dependent on water. LAGUZ is also powerful and regenerative, and it shows us how to manifest what we desire. LAGUZ can also be used in healing because it allows the body's energies to flow uninterrupted. In Power and Principles of the Runes, Freya Aswynn says, LAGUZ is one of the runes of healing and initiation. It's a rune of the deep, the hidden ebb and flow of the currents of life, as water is the first necessity of all life, aside from oxygen, be it plant, animal, or human. To pay a visit to Loch Ness, with or without the monster, can confer an appreciation of the meaning of the LAGUZ rune. It's a very occult rune, shaping the deep undercurrents of the collective unconscious. LAGUZ has sympathetic resonance with Perthro, and both are interconnected in the well of weird, metaphorically and psychologically. To master, rather than control or suppress emotions, is the objective of the aware person in order to shape or alter weird. The LAGUZ rune, being representative of water, therefore, also can be perceived of symbolizing the etheric or astral forces. Water will assume the shape of any container it's poured into. So too will astral substance take the shape of whatever the imagination and visualization will dictate. According to Gallina Krasskova in Living Runes, LAGUZ encompasses all the ways we consciously use energy, power, and attraction. At its deepest levels, it deals with responsibility and the effect one's consciousness and mental and emotional state has when one is working with magic. There is an element of the shapeshifter to this rune because water, by its very nature, transforms itself. Water must be contained, but it takes the shape of its container. LAGUZ is like that, and thus can be very deceiving. It's very easy to dismiss the power of this rune when one is contemplating a mere bowl of water, but it's not so easy to do when one is standing before the Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, listening to the crashing song of the waves as they roll in. The potentiality of LAGUZ exists in both the bowl and the ocean. It is a rune of the manifestation of desire. LAGUZ is one of the easiest runes to use to change your awareness. When that happens, the rune worker is no longer at a distance from the rune. With LAGUZ, you can't be aloof. You can't just look at it as you would watch a river flow by. LAGUZ is a river you want to dive into, swim in, and work from its center. When LAGUZ is used in healing, it can manifest as a needle used for stitching up a wound. It allows the body's energies to flow uninterrupted. This is a very changeable rune. It can bring you to what you desire, but it does so by flowing into every possible opening and subtly shifting things in your favor. It's the velvet glove hiding the iron fist, so to speak. For although it does not have a hard feel to it, it can overcome, overpower, and burn. It is the power of the ocean at its wildest. It is the power of the tides and the ocean deep. This is what this rune is made from and what it taps directly into. So you will have seen from all of those images just how prevalent the LAGUZ rune has been of late. So it is one of the first runes that I saw. It appeared first on a day that was really rainy and wet, which I think is really hilarious. It's like it kind of knew like, oh, this is a good way to, or a good time for me to reveal myself so that you can kind of understand what I'm about. It was a really fascinating way for it to come about. I was walking my dog in a place I don't normally walk him, and I was actually right by a pond and on a street, and it was wet and raining, and that rune was like right there. So that was the first time I saw it. Toward the end of February, I began seeing this rune a lot. So it went from sort of like here or there, and usually to help me understand better a particular situation in my life where there was some manipulative factors and some things that needed healing, and that I was being entrapped in or kind of drawn into through my emotions, which I think is so fascinating, which really started to tell me a lot about this rune and help me really understand on a more experiential level, like what it means. What started to happen then was, at the end of February, I started seeing it in clusters. So I would go outside and I would see it 3 or 4 times. Now I'm used to that because I see Gabo and Kanaz that way. I will go on a walk on an average day, and I will probably see Gabo between 5 and 15 or 20 times in a day. Because X's are very common, but I mean, I specifically end up seeing a lot of Gabos, like literally directly on my path, right next to my path. Same with Kanaz. Those two in particular are really, really, really prevalent together. So it was really weird to start seeing LAGUZ, and it was most definitely LAGUZ and not Kanaz. Now, keeping in mind, LAGUZ looks like this, Kanaz looks like this. So turned like that, and you can see, like, depending on the angle that you're looking at them, and how they're formed, you could easily start to see, kind of question, which one am I seeing here? Although after a while, their energy starts to feel really clear. So you know for sure who you're seeing and who they are, and if you're just seeing a formation on the sidewalk, or if that rune's energy is actually coming through. I don't know how else to describe it. That just becomes a part of the process. So on this particular, at this particular moment, I had started seeing clusters of them everywhere. I would see them everywhere. Sometimes I would see 2 and 3 at a time, but it started at the end of February and just carried on. And there would be walks, there would be whole days where I would not see a single other rune besides LAGUZ. And I mean, I would see it in everything. And it was most prominently showing up as sticks, literally, like you can see sticks on the pavement. And I didn't even capture all of the instances that I saw on camera, because sometimes you just don't want to have to constantly, it can become an obsession, I guess is what I'm saying. I didn't really want to become obsessed. It was just like, okay, this is clearly really prominent right now. And it occurred to me towards the beginning of March, towards mid of March, this is not a rune that is coming through with a personal message this time. So it was also the first time that it was not just a personal rune, at least that I've noticed. It was a transpersonal rune. It was more like, this is what's happening right now. Right now, this is the rune. I then began to realize this rune is connected with the coronavirus. I think it was really kind of in that first week of of quarantine. So my quarantine would have started on Wednesday or Thursday, the 11th or 12th of March, when I started to recognize just how bad it really was going to be, and that the only way to manage or cope if I'm working with older family members and clients is to self-isolate. And so really I would go outside for these long walks and find that I don't know how to describe it. Again, it is a rune of intuition. The intuition that was coming to me was that the reason I had been seeing it coming up since sort of middle to end of February, and it was just becoming more and more prevalent, and that it was also transpersonal, was because it was connected to the virus. Also, the manipulative nature of LAGUZ, right? A lot of times, this rune has been trying to tell me a little bit about how I'm manipulating a situation and not seeing it clearly, or about how some kind of interpersonal manipulation is taking life energy from me, but also telling me simultaneously you have the power to heal it yourself. So about the time I started to realize that this rune was telling us about, or telling me about, a transpersonal aspect, it's telling me more about society as a whole, about the world as a whole, it started to become clear that what the message is about our need to be flexible and fluid as the situation with the coronavirus started to evolve. And I felt like it was also starting to tell me about the ability that we have within ourselves as a collective to heal the problem and to heal its source. It also became really clear that what we're looking at with this rune is, that like water, right? This rune has the ability, to be very gentle, to slip by as a part of life without ever being noticed. And that it also, like an ocean or a tsunami, it can just come in and wipe things out. I think I mentioned this to Nina at some point because she's become sort of my source for all things rune related because she's so knowledgeable. And I've been learning so much from her. And she also expressed like there is also kind of an angry or possibly like impersonal but vengeful or wrathful quality to this rune. It's, in other words, it's not personal, it's just a part of its energy, and the capacity that it has. And when I look at like how the virus, what we're discovering about the coronavirus and the way that it functions, the way that it moves, when you think about, leaks in a roof, when you think about, thinking about water, when we think about water, and all of the ways in which water functions, right? I feel like we're going to have a better understanding of how this virus also functions. And given how prevalent water is on the planet, I also feel that it's telling us about the way that we interact with the planet. It's telling us about environmental concerns. It's telling us about, to consider our own healing power that we have to heal the planet and to heal our relationship to our planet, because doing that, ironically, also is connected with the way that viruses and pandemics form. They start with animals, and that transmission from animal to human that happens as we destroy their habitat is part of where, is part of how this virus functions. It's shown us already that it can be as discriminate or indiscriminate as it wants to be. And And I guess the more I understand about the virus, the more I understand about LAGUZ and vice versa, if that makes sense. So I've been working. I hope, and I hope all of this makes sense. It's really, I'm still wrapping my own head around it, but I just kind of wanted to share what's been happening as I've been trying to integrate that information and understand it better. You know, it's not something that you can understand verbally, really, even. You kind of have to drop the verbal and the need to intellectualize in order to really feel, and be, and to think more conceptually and in a really non-linear or non-discursive way in order to tap into it. So yeah, it's been LAGUZ has become a really deep learning experience. The more I've acknowledged it, like this happens with a lot of these runes, the more I acknowledge it and the more I understand it better, the less I seem to need to see it, or the less it needs to communicate with me. Yeah. Yeah. So some of the other runes have started to come back now. Started to come back once I could realize what I was seeing and how, what it meant. Other runes began to become known again, along with LAGUZ, or even just separate from it. It's been fascinating. So that's my first rune story time that I'm sharing, and there are going to be more, I'm sure. Actually, any information or insights that you may have that you want to share. Again, I'm new on this journey. I don't really know that much about runes except for the experience that I'm having. So I'm learning through the direct experience and then researching on my own. But it's not like a long held experience. So yeah, I'm curious to know yours as well. Take care, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.